Welcome to the very first episode of Modern Toy Fair. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Mezco 112 Reverse Flash Zoom figure. I've been waiting a long time for this figure to come out, so let's get right into it and see how it turned out. So first thing you'll see is the big bright red lightning bolt there on the front with the black circle for the Reverse Flash logo. You also have the DC Comics, the older logo from their New 52 run. You also have up in the top corner the 112 Collective logo, and then the PX Previews exclusive sticker. And then zoom down at the bottom as well. On the side here, we just have zoom at the top, the Reverse Flash logo, and then the MezcoToys.com logo at the bottom. On the back here we have a little bit more to look at. We have some nice shots of the figure. On the other side here, again, we just have the logo, zoom at the top, and then the 112 Collective logo at the bottom. On the top we have the 112 Collective logo, and on the bottom we just have all the different warnings, and then the MezcoToys.com logo with all their social media handles, and the barcode as well for the figure. Next we're going to take off here the slip cover. We're going to open it up here, and as you can see they have the nice window display with the figure and all of the accessories shown. You also have a little bit of art here for the Reverse Flash, which looks really cool. Alright, and here we have him. He's out of the box. He stands about 6 inches tall. His costume is very simplistic, which I like. Most of it is just plain yellow spandex, which looks great on him. He does have a little bit of detail here in his mask. Just a few lines, kind of very simple lightning bolts going from the front to the back of the mask. And then he also has the 2 red lightning bolts on his ears. Then for the forearms, rather than have the fabric extend all the way, they do have those as plastic, which I like because it prevents any sort of fraying or anything that can be wear and tear over time, and makes it work great with the ball joints on the wrist. And then he does have the plastic red lightning bolts around his waist for his belt, which look really nice, and they have them sewn on so that way they move a little better when you're posing them so they don't get in the way. And then finally you have the boots. They did put some detail into the plastic parts, which is great. You have some grooves on the side, the lightning extending off of the boots as well, and then the soles are also rather detailed to kind of give it a little better feel. And then the emblem on his chest, this is something I'm very happy with. Instead of going with the kind of plain printed on logo, they gave him a full plastic emblem, which stands out very nicely, and with the different grooves. It's very detailed for how simplistic it is, and I really like how it turned out. And next we're going to take a look at the articulation of the figure, which is very impressive as usual from Mezco. We're going to start with his head. He does have the full ball joint at the neck, so he can look all the way up, he can look all the way down, and then he does have the full 360 range for turning left and right, and then he has quite a bit of tilt there. It goes both ways, right and left. And next we're going to look at his shoulders. He does have the ball joint at the shoulder, which has a pretty impressive expansion there. It goes almost all the way up, which is great. It does have the 360 degrees forward and backward. The spandex does get in the way a little bit when you're going backwards because that's where the seams are right there under his arm, as you can kind of see there. But it still works really well when you're posing him. He does have the pivot joint at his bicep, which goes 360 degrees. It can cause a little bit of troubles because that seam's there as well. It makes it a little hard to move it around, but it's still pretty easy to pose. And then he also has the double jointed elbow, which works great because you're having a lot of poses where he's running, and that's kind of the elbow joint you're going to need for that. And then his wrist does have the ball joint as well, You can go all the way back there. As you can see, you get a nice little arch, or you can have it go all the way forward. It does have 360-degree of range, so you can spin it around if you need to. Next is his leg joints. He does have a ball joint. He can extend his leg almost all the way forward. Backwards is not quite as far. As you can see, it kind of barely goes backwards. He does have the rotating thigh joint, so you can kind of get a little more motion that way. And he also has the double jointed knees, which go all the way in to definitely make up for the lack of backwards motion in the leg joint. And then the last part here on the leg is the ankle joint with the ankle pivot, which is much better than what they had with the arrow. He can go a lot further downward than the arrow figure could. He can definitely go a lot further upward than the arrow figure could. And then he also has a little bit of tilt to both the left and the right. And then the last bit of articulation here is the abdomen. He does have a fully flexible abdomen. It's about as far down as you can get him. Backwards, that's a little bit further going that way. You can also twist him. The spandex does give a little bit of trouble again because of the way the seams are on the sides, but overall he's not that hard to pose with any of his joints from my experience so far. Doo-doo! Okay, so next we are going to take a look at the accessories this figure came with. The first, we're going to take a look at the hands. He did come with 2 sets of hands. The first set is the straight-fingered running, sprinting hands. The second set of hands here are going to be just kind of your basic grapple hands, just kind of like what the green arrow had. They have the fingers kind of curled in a little bit, so that way you can have him look like he's reaching for a ledge or maybe grabbing someone by the throat. Those are the only 2 sets of hands we got. I do wish that we would have got maybe a third set with a more closed hand, so you could have him catching a batarang or catching one of the Green Arrow's arrows. Just going to add a little more options for when you're posing him. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the hands we did get. So next we're going to take a look at the lightning effects. These are probably my favorite accessory this figure came with. He came with 4 different ones. The first one here is going to be for whatever leg you have extended backwards while he's running. It kind of just hooks onto his foot. The next one is also a leg accessory for the lightning. This one's for whatever leg is kind of stationary and closer to the ground. It just kind of extends off it. It looks great if you have him just standing around, or for whenever you go through and have him in that running pose. Next we have the 2 lightning accessories for the hands. These definitely turned out great. They have a nice little mold in there, so that way you can have it go onto his hand and wrist both forward and backward, so when he's running it kind of gives you a lot more options with different poses, which is great. This is the second one, which they did go with a different mold, which I do like, so that way it isn't so very bland and reused. I'm really impressed with the way how well done these lightning effects are for this figure, and I couldn't ask for anything more than what they gave us, because they definitely turned out great. The final accessory he comes with is the tornado effect, which turned out really, really well. When I saw this effect figure when they first announced them, I was didn't really care. I thought it was kind of comical and funny, but it's really thick plastic. It definitely has a lot of detail put into it, and it's really impressive. It is a little hard to pose him with it because of how heavy it is. He has troubles kind of holding it up. I also wish we would have gotten maybe 2, so that way you could have both his hands connected to make the tornadoes, because in most of the situations where we see that both him and Flash use the tornado hand effects, it's always with 2 hands. I very rarely have seen them where they just use it with 1. And then the last thing this figure comes with is the stand, which Looks really nice. Has that nice reverse flash emblem there on it. Turned out really, really well. It also has the crane arm on it, so that way if you need to pose him jumping in the air, or you want to kind of have him like running up the wall, it just definitely gives you a lot more options. Doo-doo! Well, that's going to wrap it up for the very first episode of Modern Toy Fair. If you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe to our channel here at Media Junkie. Along with all of our other great content, you'll see our updates for Modern Toy Fair at least a couple times a month here. Next episode, we plan on taking a look at the Mezco 112 Flash figure. See you next time.